Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a massive, fascinating paradox. How can one of the world's fastest-growing economies, a true global superpower, also be dealing with a problem that's deep, systemic, and incredibly expensive? So let's dive in. And boom, here it is, the contradiction laid out right in front of you. On one hand, you've got an absolute economic powerhouse, rocketing towards becoming the world's fourth largest economy. But on the other hand, you have a systemic issue with corruption that lands it at 96th place on the global index. I mean, how can these two things be true at the same time in the same country? This really is a tale of two Indias, isn't it? So, in this explainer, we're going to unpack both of these stories. The story of incredible growth and the story of the shadow of corruption, to really understand how they're tangled together and what it all means for the future. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the good news, the really good news. To get a handle on this paradox, you first have to appreciate the sheer scale and speed of India's economic rise. It is, without a doubt, a juggernaut.
Look, this isn't just simple growth we're talking about here. It's a meteoric rise. Get this, back in 2014, India was the 11th largest economy in the world. By 2025, it's projected to hit number 4. That is an insane jump, 7 spots in just over a decade. It's truly one of the fastest economic transformations we've seen in modern history.
So, you might be wondering, what's fueling this rocket ship, right? Well, the sources point to this really powerful mix of things. Huge investments in new roads, ports, and digital networks, a technology sector that's absolutely booming and world-class, and this incredible wave of entrepreneurship that's just unleashing new energy all across the country. Okay, so that's the shiny, amazing story of growth. But, and this is a big but, there's this huge shadow hanging over everything. And now we have to turn to that other India, the one where deep-rooted corruption is a fundamental challenge to all of that incredible progress. And this number, 96 out of 180, it just hits you, doesn't it? This is from Transparency International, by the way. They're the main global watchdog on this stuff, so this isn't just some small, nagging problem. It's a globally recognized systemic challenge. And this is where it stops being just a number on a chart and gets really personal. A landmark study from 2008. So yeah, it's a bit older, but it shows you just how deep this problem runs, found that a staggering 50% of Indians had to pay a bribe just to get basic public services. Think about that. For millions of people, corruption isn't some abstract headline. It's a frustrating, real part of daily life.
And let's be super clear here. This is not some victimless white-collar issue. The source material is very direct about this. Corruption actively fuels poverty. It creates unequal access to things like healthcare and education. It essentially builds a wall between the country's economic boom and the very people who need it most.
So, what happens when you smash these two things together? This explosive growth and this deep, stubborn corruption. Well, you get a really dangerous mix. These two forces don't just exist next to each other, they crash into each other, creating some serious risks for the future. So why has this been so tough to fix? Well, the sources really point to a perfect storm of systemic issues. You've got decision-making happening behind closed doors where nobody can see who's really benefiting. You have a justice system that's so slow and backlogged that getting accountability can take decades. Then there's a maze of complicated, outdated rules that almost invites people to pay for a shortcut. And on top of it all, you'll public officials on relatively low pay who are in charge of billion-dollar projects. And what's the end result of all that? Well, you create a system where, for a lot of regular people and even businesses, paying a bribe or calling in a favor doesn't just feel like a shortcut. It starts to feel like the only way you can cut through all the red tape and actually get something done. Now, the price tag for all of this is just staggering. 10%. Let that sink in for a second. Estimates suggest that a tenth of the entire country's GDP is just lost, wasted through these inefficiencies. That's not just a number. That's billions and billions of dollars that could be building schools, hospitals, and modern infrastructure just vanishing from the public purse every year. And, you know, this damage isn't just domestic. Think about it from an international investor's point of view. Every time a big corruption scandal hits the headlines, it sends a ripple of fear through the global market. It spooks foreign investors and chips away at the very thing India needs to keep that economic engine roaring. its credibility.
Okay, but this isn't a story of doom and gloom. Not at all. There is a huge fight for transparency happening right now, a real battle to reform the system from the inside out. So let's look at how that's playing out.
And the strategy they're taking is basically this three-pronged attack. First, using technology to make government more open. Second, pushing for stronger laws and reforms to hold people accountable. And third, empowering ordinary citizens to be the watchdogs.
And this isn't just talk, right? These are actual tools being put to work as we speak. You've got things like e-tendering, which moves government contracts online for everyone to see, making them way harder to rig. Then there are direct benefit transfers, which shoot welfare payments straight into people's bank accounts, completely cutting out the crooked middlemen who used to take a cut. You've got powerful laws like the Rights Information Act, which gives any citizen the power to demand answers. And they're even starting to use AI to sniff out suspicious patterns in government spending. Pretty cool stuff.
And all of this brings us right back to where we started, back to that central paradox. We've seen the two Indias, the economic rocket ship on one side and this heavy anchor of corruption on the other. So the ultimate question, the billion-dollar question really, is which force is stronger? Can the sheer momentum of growth finally break the chains of this old, persistent problem? Well, that's the story that's still being written.